Hi everyone, it's a great time for a book, and today we're going to read This Moose Belongs to Me, and it's by Oliver Jeffers. Ready? All right. Wilfred owned a moose. He hadn't always owned a moose. The moose came to him a while ago, and he just knew that it was meant to be his. He thought he would call him Marcel. He began following Marcel, explaining the rules of how to be a good pet. Much of the time it seemed as though the moose wasn't listening, but Wilfred knew he was, mostly because he followed Rule 4 very well, which is not making too much noise while Wilfred plays his record collection. Sometimes the moose wasn't a very good pet. He generally ignored Rule 7, going whichever way Wilfred wants to go. The moose had a very good sense of direction, and Wilfred did not. And because the moose was particularly poor on rule number 7, maintaining a certain proximity to home, Wilfred quickly learned to bring some string along on their outings so he could find his way back home again. Sometimes the moose was an excellent pet. He had no trouble with Rule 11, providing shelter from the rain. Or Rule 16, knocking down things that are out of Wilfred's reach. One day, as Wilfred discussed their plans for the coming year on a particularly long walk, he made a terrible discovery. Someone else thought she owned the moose. Wilfred was dumbstruck. This moose was Marcel, not Rodrigo. The old lady was mistaken. Wilfred thought it only proper that he correct her. This moose belongs to me, he explained. And to prove it, he called Marcel. But the moose did not respond. He seemed more interested in the old lady. Embarrassed and enraged, Wilfred rushed off for home. But in his haste and miles from anywhere, he tripped over his string and he got all tangled up. And there he lay. Wilfred was beginning to get a little bit worried. It was getting late, and the monsters would be out soon. He had just ruled out the last of his options when along came the moose. And performed Rule 73 brilliantly, rescuing your owner from perilous situations. All was forgiven, and perhaps Wilfred admitted he'd really never owned the moose anyway. With that in mind, he and the moose reached a compromise. The moose would agree to all of Wilfred's rules. Whenever it suited him. The end. So I thought it would be fun today, because I think Wilfred is a funny pet. Imagine having a moose for a pet. I have 2 dogs. That makes sense. Go draw a picture of some other animal that you could have as a pet that would kind of be silly, like the moose. Have fun drawing. Bye.